such a sweet goat. This is Aaliyah. She is the dominant female. Plata is our other milking goat. There's a law in Berkeley that you can have 2 female goats. The laws are still from back at a time when we were an agricultural society. You have fresh meat, you have fresh milk. So it's a very sensible law. And I'm glad that it's still on the books. If you're going to milk them, you have to breed them every 2 years. These are the babies, and then you have to milk them every 12 hours. So the goats jump up there, we give them goodies, treats when we milk them, and then we milk them out and then keep the milk here in the refrigerator. And we have a whole program of goat apprentices. And so these are the days that they milk. And so the deal is that they milk and they take half of the milk and leave half of the milk. Currently we're getting, it's 1.5 gallons per milking. PM. So we're getting about 3 gallons a day. We don't sell the milk because we're not a legal dairy. So we drink the milk, we make cheese, we make yogurt. I left it cultivating with the culture more time than usual.
The taste is magnificent.
It's really rich.
Every time you hear about this meat scare in the supermarket, it makes people kind of realize, hey, something's wrong with our system here. We already have 2 of our goat kids, females, sold to a couple, and they want to start raising goats and producing their own milk. I think this is the woman that's buying the goats. Come on in.
They were actually wanting to feed them.
Kirsten was just asking me about if other people would want to raise goats in the area, and so I was saying, we have some folks
we're taking them in a couple of weeks.
that are buying some of our goats.
Well, we have a house in Oakland and wanted to have an orchard and had thought about getting chickens and thought we'd have dogs, and we figured if we're going to put the time into animals, then we might as well be supplying some of our own food. Our neighbors, 4 of our neighbors have agreed to milking shifts already.
Oh my, so we're creating satellite farms.
We're definitely wanting to do it in community because, we want to have kids and we want to still have a life, and so we know we need to do it with support.
It becomes like a goat dairy collective. Where there are other members of the collective that help you out because you can't do it by yourself.
And it's just so hard to get food that I know is both good for us and good for the animals it comes from or the earth that it comes from. So, that's as much a priority. So making it local and knowing what goes into the land, and we just feel like it's natural to have animals with your gardens.
And then as you can hear, we have egg production also. The kitchen scraps we can feed to the chickens, and the rabbits will eat some chicken scrap. These are males, and so these will be primarily for meat. I think they're really easy to raise. They produce meat and they produce fur. They'll eat vegetable scraps from the gardens, and they'll eat the leftover hay from the goats. The other thing about farming in the city is that we have a lot of resources that we can reuse that is considered waste. As you see in our rabbit cages, they have this organic whole grain bread that we get at the bakery down the street for free.
Why?
It's the day-old bread that they bring back from the stores. The bunnies are our mowers. So we keep them in cages and we move the cages around and then they trim the grass. I don't eat meat, but I can't imagine now gardening without animals. You can't buy soil that fertile. You have to make it, and the animals allow us to do that. This is our compost pile. This was a big, huge pile of goat manure with straw and weeds, and then we turned it. This is what it looks like when it first goes out. This is the stuff I call raw. This is actually just the composted goat manure and sawdust, and this stuff is still a little raw, which means it needs to break down a little bit more. It needs like another winter's worth of rain on it. So this is what it looks like after a couple of years of rain and further decomposition. So this is just that sawdust and goat manure that has had a couple years more rain and planting and decomposition. We like to think of it as cyclical agriculture. We used to work this way in this country. We used to produce food this way in this country. There's no such thing as waste. Waste is an artificial concept. The waste, quote unquote, from the garden goes to the goats. And the goats compost it in a day. It's a 24-hour composter. That's what a goat is. Then the waste from the goats, that becomes the treasure of our garden. Our garden's trash is our goat's treasure, and our goat's trash is our garden's treasure. So we try to keep those cycles going.